All right. Well, hi again, everyone. I'm Brett Schwartz, Associate Director at the NADO Research Foundation. Welcome to today's webinar, Self-Supporting Entrepreneurship. This is our third and final webinar in our webinar series we've been hosting over the past 2 weeks, from Vacant to Vibrant, Strategies for Rural and Small Town Renewal. We've had a really great series so far, from exploring strategies to breathe life into vacant buildings last week. And then on Tuesday, we took a closer look at innovative rural businesses during our second webinar. So today we're going to wrap up by taking a closer look at ways to support entrepreneurs in our communities. And of course, we've touched on this theme throughout our previous two sessions, but excited to have Deb Brown again from SaveYour.Town here with us to take a closer look. So Deb's going to share some ways to support entrepreneurs and small businesses in your communities, and really figure out ways to create places and programs that can foster collaboration, mentorship, and growth. So as with all of Deb's other presentations, you're in store for a lot of great images, a lot of great stories, and really inspiring ideas. But also, as with other presentations, I need to run through some quick background information before we kick things off. Apologies to those of you who have been to all three webinars and have heard this before, but that makes you experts and well-informed on what's happening with us at NADO. So I'll run through these quickly, and then we'll turn things over to Deb. So today's session and all of our webinars throughout the series are made available through the NADO Research Foundation's Economic Development District Community of Practice. The EDD CoP is funded through a generous cooperative agreement from EDA that runs over 5 years. It's a program that offers wide-ranging training, research, and networking opportunities for all of you on this call, that's staff at economic development districts in that vast network of over 400 EDDs across the country. So just want to point out the disclaimer again at the bottom that the ideas and suggestions that are offered through today's webinar and throughout the CoP do not necessarily reflect the views of EDA or the Department of Commerce. Again, here are some of the great resources that we have available: webinars, issue briefs, case studies, reports, and much more on all sorts of topics and themes that should be of importance to you at EDDs. A lot of topics and themes that we've covered, but as I've mentioned before, if there's stuff and information you're looking for that we haven't addressed, please reach out, because we want to make sure to get information in your hands to support your work on the grounds. Of course, I have a whole bunch of great peer learning networks that we've established throughout the community of practice. That include networks for staff that are new at economic development districts, been on the job for 2 years or less. We have a network for executive directors, a mentorship program. We'll be launching our second cohort of our SEDS peer exchange groups towards the end of this month, so keep an eye out for registration for that. And we just recently launched a wealth creation cohort, which is led by Melissa Levy, who's on the call today too, dropping some links in the chat to take a closer look at ways that EDDs can incorporate wealth creation and asset-based economic development into their planning and programs. So take a look and see if there's a mentor or a cohort for you. We'll be in Salt Lake City next month for our annual training conference, October 14th through 17th. We've extended the early bird deadline a little bit. We've got our almost 100% confirmed agenda posted up on the website, so hope to see many of you in person. As much fun as these virtual gatherings are, it would be great to connect at a session or reception in Salt Lake. And to stay up to date on the latest news and resources from NADO and our partners and colleague organizations, please subscribe to NADO News. This gets directly to your inbox every Thursday with the latest information supporting your work in regional economic developments. And I know a question on everybody's mind: when will we get to see the recordings and slides? And my goal is to have these ideally posted by later this afternoon. It is on my to-do list to get all of the webinars and PowerPoint slides up on one site. And as long as you've registered for the webinar, and if you're hearing my words right now, you'll get an email that'll send you the link. So please share all this information far and wide with those that you think would benefit from learning about all these amazing topics we've been exploring with Deb over the past 2 weeks. And finally, please be in touch. Again, if you have any questions about our work through the community of practice, any of our upcoming events, anything that we're doing at NADO and the NADO Research Foundation, would love to hear from you. And please share what you're working on. Our role is really to kind of lift up your voices and your story, and to connect all of you in this kind of national network that's working on regional economic development and planning. So finally, I get to introduce Deb for the last time on this this webinar series. Again, it's been really amazing having Deb as our guide and our trainer. So for those of you who are meeting Deb for the first time on this webinar, she is the co-founder of SaveYour.Town, which is an organization dedicated to helping small towns and rural communities thrive by empowering local residents to implement positive change using their own resources and ideas. And you're going to hear a lot of those ideas today. She's worked on major projects in over 40 different counties across the country, including 14 states. And I realize I probably should have mentioned this on previous calls, but it's probably most relevant to today's webinar. And that is that Deb served for 4 years as the executive director of the Webster City, Iowa Chamber of Commerce. So it really gives her a great perspective on effective ways to identify and engage with those local entrepreneurs. Here's some of the examples, I believe, from her time in Iowa and just her work in general with SaveYour.Town today. And then finally, as we know, Deb is the author of From Possibilities to Reality, Save Your Small Town with these uniquely doable ideas, projects, and success stories. So lots of the examples, again, that you'll hear on the call today are in this book, but the book is so much more than just a list of case studies and examples. It's a real opportunity for you to kind of interact through a workbook to really figure out ways to engage local partners and improve quality of life and resilience in your communities. So I feel like I was going a mile a minute on this intro today, Deb, but we've been through it many times before. But again, so grateful to have had you a part of this webinar series and looking forward to today's conversation. Again, I previewed it in advance and some really, really exciting ideas. So with that, I'll turn things over to you for the presentation.
All right, great. Let me share my screen. Hello, everybody. Entrepreneurs thrive when they support each other. And today you're going to see how to make that happen in your communities. You'll discover a simple, replicable model for connecting entrepreneurs and small business owners to build a stronger, more resilient entrepreneurial network. So let's just talk about self-supporting entrepreneurship for a minute. Sometimes letting go of control is the toughest part. For years, we've tried to guide entrepreneurs into the right kind of business, making sure they look like all the others, checking all the boxes. But what if there's a better way? We're going to talk about fresh ideas on how your seasoned business owners can mentor others. You'll see how to stir up that local energy and use it to boost your up and coming startups. You're going to learn how entrepreneurs can support each other, and you will see how you can connect entrepreneurs to each other to create that symbiotic relationship that moves all your businesses forward towards success. And you'll hear about the places that bring entrepreneurs together. Now, this new approach isn't business as usual, but it does slip right into the programs you're already doing. There's no hoops to jump through, just real results and impact for your community. So who are your entrepreneurs? Well, in small towns, we have a lot of potential entrepreneurs. They just don't all fit into the traditional startup business model, the old way courses assumed, Think about all the people in your town who could be non-traditional entrepreneurs. They could be students, people with talents they don't use at their day job, people in business but might need some help, those thinking of a retirement business, and the innovative person who is trying new things. And generally, the unifying piece is their willingness to take an idea and create a business that solves a problem. Now, we know the old ways used to help entrepreneurs, but here's the thing, they don't work so well anymore, especially for your new entrepreneurs, those people with ideas that want to try them out. Old way traditional entrepreneur trainings take all these different kinds of people and assume they all need the same 14 lessons. They assume these future business owners will get everything written out and perfectly planned before they go into business. Now, that's traditional startup model that was created quite a long time ago. In this old way model, startups needed to have all of their ducks in a row in order to go into business. They had to have great credit, deep pockets, good connections, be clean and sober, have strong business skills, and a solid support network. Think about your town. There aren't really that many people who have all of those qualifications. And if we focus on 14-point outlines and 6-week entrepreneur trainings held sometime between 9 and 5, We're really holding our people back from the best way for them to learn as adults. You know, I've worked in all kinds of businesses, from retail to service to insurance to an internet cafe. And when I was the Chamber of Commerce director, I did help support lots of different businesses that were starting up and even had been open for years. Now, I've been part of entrepreneur training events and workshops, and I've been a mentor in both formal and informal ways. And I've been thinking about what works and what doesn't work that well for people in small towns. Not everyone learns best from the usual kind of formal trainings in a classroom with a lecture from an expert. And it's not easy for would-be entrepreneurs to get to the classes because of timing and conflicts in life. And the topics we had to cover in those trainings that I was involved in often focused on things that weren't necessarily helpful for entrepreneurs at that time, or they weren't what they most needed to know. Old Way training is focused on writing out business plans and legal entity formation. And even the outline is full of jargon like owner's equity and calculating revenue to break even. I'm convinced that training curriculum is not the right way to get more entrepreneurs to make that leap into business. Now, entrepreneurs do better when they support each other. These simple real-world examples plant the seed of how you're going to get your local entrepreneurs to support each other in a way that's self-sustaining. So you'll hear this, the most important principles. You want to get your entrepreneurs together in a way they want, like maybe letting them tour a business or just hang out at a winery. You'll hear those stories. You want to get a mix of attendees, so ones with different business types and experience levels. And then you want to give people chances to reflect on those experiences. Professor Glazer and Kerr said in the Harvard Business Review that research shows that once entrepreneurs get established, it tends to be self-perpetuating. And I think this is because entrepreneurs start supporting each other. And we have a way that we can encourage that. No committees, please. Create social bonding by gathering easily without an agenda, minutes, or even financials. This is not a meeting. It's an opportunity to be together sharing ideas. Now, we are all in the business of saving our communities, making them better, and correcting problems that were left in our laps. Relying on the same old way of doing things is a habit that you already know. You can set up trainings with your eyes closed, I'm sure. And never mind, it's no longer helping your possible entrepreneurs. Well, now is the time to shape your mindset and behaviors to fit into what today's mindset needs. Small businesses need. Sorry, you're here today to learn how to help your entrepreneurs and in the long run, how to help your community. It's going to feel different and uncomfortable at first because you're taking steps unfamiliar to you. But I promise you'll get the hang of it and once again become excited about the possibility of new businesses in your towns. And the first step is to gather your crowd, your entrepreneurs, informally with all different kinds and levels of attendees. This is not a meeting held in a boardroom, and certain steps are put in place and attendees are expected to follow your advice. This is not that. The best part of in-person classes and trainings really are the group discussion and getting your real questions answered. It's the interaction with like-minded people who get you. So why not just do that part? This kind of support for each other may come up as conversation informally. Maybe someone needs to know QuickBooks and another person will say, well, come on over Saturday. I'll show you the basics. Some of my best learning came when someone just sat down with me and said, let me show you how to do that. Of course, not every business owner is going to want to do something like this. Some of them will not play nice, and that's okay. You probably don't want those people passing on their negative habits to new entrepreneurs anyway. However, for business people who understand and want to be helpful, this informality really helps them open up. Talking about things that didn't work, like failure, is no longer a bad thing to talk about. It's just a learning experience. Now, let's look at some tested ways that this new model is working. In Webster City, there were a small group of entrepreneurs and they decided to support each other. So the owners of 3 different retail stores got together after their work hours. The owner of the pottery shop and the owner of the clothing shop had both been in business for quite a while, and they wanted to help the new business owner who had started a unique new and used item shop. They shared their practical business know-how, like how they receive new products in their stores and how they use marketing to their advantage. And they gave the entrepreneurs full tours of their stores. They got to see those back rooms and ask a lot of questions. And the things they asked her a lot of questions too, and the things she really needed to know, what did she need most to succeed? None of those questions involved a business plan, taxes, or whether she should incorporate. Yes, she will need to know those things in due time, but this wasn't the time. The new store owner told me that getting answers to her most immediate questions really helped her to get to know the community better and was a part of her success. Now, I've heard of similar groups from Texas to Ontario where business owners get together informally at different business locations just to talk, ask questions, and help each other. Here's what makes that work. They could ask the most pressing questions, the things keeping them up at night, not calculating revenue to break even. This is called a point of need learning. No one needs the 14-point outline before they even get started. First of all, there's no way they're going to learn and retain all of that. Now, on a similar note, but with more people and more consistently, are the backroom tours for business owners. Yolanda Almager from Brownsville, Texas, shared their model called Shop Hopping Around Brownsville. It's a couple of resale shops, a baker, some restaurants, massage therapists, and boutiques. They get together once a month at the different locations for about an hour. They get to see the others' businesses and offerings. They talk to each other and support each other. That kind of backroom tour gives people a chance to connect and come up with new ideas. Now, you remember the slide on the first page? That was from Norfolk County, Ontario business that grows lavender. Knowing how they built their business, what it is they actually do with lavender, some marketing ideas, these are all things other entrepreneurs wanted to know. And swallowed wrong. Getting together as entrepreneurs creates a stronger social bond between the businesses. Working together could be more formal down the road, like shared marketing plans or referrals to each other, shop here and get a 10% discount there kind of thing. Let's start out with just talking to each other. A group of business owners, and I did this where I used to live in Hampton, Iowa. So a small group of us got together informally. There were a couple of specialty shops, a flower shop, a winery, and a marketer, me. Some of us were new in business and some had been in business for years. We got together at the local winery outside of town. We found out that we had some challenges in common. Most of us were struggling with finding customers and how to get repeat customers, how to market our events outside of the area, and how we could work together. And we just decided to get together. We tried to do it monthly, but with no set calendar dates. And we'd meet and we'd talk, no agenda, no formal lectures. We answered each other's questions best as we could. By the end of the night, we came up with some real practical steps we could all try together, and we did those. And we kept getting together as long as it was helpful to all of us. Now, the specialty shops already belong to a group of businesses like the Shop Hoppers in Brownfield, and they took the ideas they learned from us back to their group. And then we sort of quit meeting, and that's okay because it had served its purpose for us. Now, these are not committees. These are folks who know each other, getting together to solve a few challenges they have in common. And a glass of wine did not hurt either. Peer gatherings. Many young families are coming home to raise their kids and work from home. When I was in Mount Ayr, Iowa for a visit, I had the opportunity to meet with a group of people who have moved back to this small town of 2,500 people. They brought with them technology, a large network of professional friends, and their families. Now, it's not a beach town. There's no mountains, and people don't go there to vacation. So why had they moved? Well, they came because they wanted to be close to family. They wanted to raise their kids in a safer environment and because they wanted to make a difference. That's right, they move back home. Now they meet regularly and share what's going on in their business. They ask each other who they can help to bring to Mount Air. They discuss new business ideas and, of course, enjoy each other's company. It is not a formal meeting, it's a get together. And in this image, they actually met in one of the group's garages. They take turns in where they meet at. Now, educational philosopher John Dewey said, "We do not learn from experience, we learn from reflecting on experience." And you don't have to worry about what learning styles entrepreneurs favor, like auditory or kinesthetic. Entrepreneurs are busy. They do need time to stop and reflect, and time that's not during the day when work always comes first, or carrying kids around to their sporting events in the evening. Coming together with like-minded people for an hour or so a month is something that's manageable. Gathering with other entrepreneurs in your town, your region, or your area really does open the door wide for reflection. You'll hear, "I tried this and it didn't work that well. What would you have done?" And there will be no fear of embarrassment or being viewed as not so smart, because others in the room have gone through that too. And now they can safely share what happened to them and what they did about it. You don't have to sit alone in a chair and meditate to reflect on your experiences. In fact, I think it's better to be with like-minded people who understand you. Now let's take a look at the ways that we can begin to build the connections to other entrepreneurs in a manner that works. Why do we need innovation? Well, innovation matters for entrepreneurs because it's the spark that sets their business apart and keeps it moving forward. Innovation helps entrepreneurs spot those gaps and unmet needs in their own community or market, and it opens doors for new products or services. Innovative entrepreneurs can reach new customers, adapt to changes, and grow their business even when the landscape shifts. The best innovations come from listening to customers and neighbors, tackling real challenges, and making life better for everyone involved. By trying new things and learning from what works or what doesn't, entrepreneurs become more adaptable when the things get tough. In a nutshell, innovation keeps businesses alive, relevant, and thriving, whether you're running a tech startup or the local hardware store. It's the difference between just getting by and leading the way in your community. And coming together to find new ways to innovate makes your community stronger. Building connections can start small and easy with ideas like a message group or a get together once a month in person or on Zoom, over coffee, or even over a beer. Alina Jennings owns an art experience and education business in downtown Ponca City, Oklahoma. Alina has connected with several other people who also have retail arts and event-based businesses downtown. Well, they started a text or a message group to share with each other about books they're reading, things they're learning, events they're doing, and other ideas they can share. It's not all business, but most of it is business related. It helps your entrepreneurs to stay in the conversation with like-minded individuals so they don't feel all alone out in the wilderness. Building connections like this is essential to keeping up your motivation in rural areas. You may have only one or two peers in your own town, but you can reach across boundaries to connect with people in those nearby communities, even those who work far away. Now, this is a text I got from a friend who works in the electric industry. Sometimes you have to have a laugh too. Some groups, like my fellow graduates of the U.S. Chamber's IOM program, gather online. We use a Facebook group. It's private, easy to use, and really convenient. When we started using it back in 2017, we all had positions in chambers, organizations, and economic development. This group now has more entrepreneurs, and the ongoing encouragement has helped many of us go into business for ourselves. We still pose questions, share stories of things we are doing, and learn new things. On a visit to Jackson County, Kentucky, I found out there were a large group of artists and crafters, and they hadn't really figured out how to come together. Well, the first step I encouraged them was to set up an art fair during the annual car show. One woman volunteered her empty lot. You can see it there. Another person started texting people she knew to come visit about it. And like a snowball going downhill, it took off. That event was a success. And after the event, they wanted to keep working together on other projects and promotions. So they gathered at different places, like a local art studio or even the Mexican restaurant, and started talking about possibilities. All of these artists were entrepreneurs trying to find ways to sell their art. The next project was to put mural boards up around the county, and they wanted to involve as many people as possible. So they agreed to have a contest at the middle schools for images to go on the boards. Now, the people voted, and 8 or 9 images were chosen. The next step involved actually transferring the designs to the large boards and inviting the kids to come and paint as well. All of this work happened at those gathering of artists. And they talked about many things, like how to sell your work online, good places around the county to display art, fundraising, and so much more. This group of local artists and a few folks from Berea College meet on a pretty regular basis, and they talk about art and ways to get it into the community, and they're in action. The next level after that of self-sustaining entrepreneurship is to build connections through events. There are 2 reasons to connect people. Now, we've talked about connecting people to people for innovation. Second is connect people to resources for your next steps. Red Lodge, Montana hosts a newcomers gathering a couple of times a year. It's an opportunity for new people in town to meet each other and learn more about their town. Residents are on hand to answer questions like, are there any empty buildings my spouse can set up her business in during the holidays? You know, the kind of questions that are not written down in any formal handout. And it's not a meeting, it's just an opportunity to meet each other, have something to eat, and ask a few questions. Bennettsville, South Carolina hosts a newcomers gathering every quarter. The newcomers are personally invited. This is the secret to why it works. They are personally invited by their realtors that sold them a house or rented them their homes or apartments. It's in the evening, there's food, and it's designed to be fun. They ask questions about where to take the garbage. Is there a dog park? Where do I pay my utility bill? It's also a perfect time for you as owners to share about your businesses, even the empty buildings, and the need for volunteers. You can invite them to become a part of your crowd. Norfolk County, Ontario did speed networking for locals at an economic development event. One surprising finding, people asked for meetings, even with people they already knew. They were not looking for an introduction. They were looking for time to make a pitch or open a conversation about a future project. Even people who run into each other around town may not get a chance to start that deeper conversation. You know, the post office lobby often isn't the right place to ask about earning someone's business. This deliberate networking exercise became the right time to kick off those important conversations. Now, any town can do business fairs where local businesses set up booths together, like a county fair or a craft fair. It lets your local people find new businesses they didn't even realize were in town, and it connects business owners to each other. So your entrepreneurs are bumping into each other, they're borrowing and adapting ideas and finding ways to work together. Michelle Robos from Ohio helped put together one of these events specifically for home-based and rural businesses that were unknown to most people in town. The seed of this concept came from a local business owner who needed this custom hose for a piece of equipment, and he had to drive 17 miles to the nearest city until he found one. When he got back, he found out there was a small business just 2 miles away out in the country that could make them cheaper, and he had no idea they were there. And Michelle told us it resulted in the creation of at least 2 new businesses in town. Coville, Washington, population 5,000, did a fair for tech-related businesses. Now you can imagine how the different businesses network with each other right at the fair. And they might have come up with ideas to work together, found some resources they needed for a customer, or just learned more about the businesses in town. And remember, we talked about it last time, tech related is more than just sitting at a computer. It includes those who work from home doing things like graphic design or website development and design, virtual assistants, and the like. Back to Webster City, Entrebash is an event where entrepreneurs, current and future, come to an event with the intention of learning how to start a business or growing their current business. Now, we partnered with University of Northern Iowa, and advisors are actually present, but you only meet with the advisors you need information from. So their tables around the room with advisors at each one. There's a lawyer, the Small Business Development Center person who you're looking at here, a social media and marketing person, a local government person, empty building owners. You get the idea. And you also hear at the end the story of a relatively new local business owner and how she got into business and how it's going. The event in this picture was held at the golf course at 6 o'clock at night. Cassandra Boniface with the Township of Stirling Rawdon in Ontario ran a business resource night for business owners or those just thinking of owning a business. And she said, I've gathered over a dozen resources covering everything from funding, business planning, accounting, website creation, logo design, employee assistance, job grants, real estate, coaching for an informal networking evening. And participants were able to visit each other again in a very relaxed environment. Now, both of these examples include informal gatherings, a mix of attendees, and include a chance to reflect on what they know or need to learn. Kennett Township and Borough in Pennsylvania set up a holiday market for just one weekend in their indoor-outdoor beer garden. And they did a ton of marketing online. They had 36 vendors. That's 36 potential new businesses who got to try their idea for at least one weekend. And the brick and mortar stores were thrilled because there are an extra 5,000 people in town who came to visit the market. Now, the event is organized by Kennett Collaborative, a local nonprofit, and some other partners. It's a great way to find local vendors that are your entrepreneurs too. This is one of my favorites. Tony Guidros, the director EDC for the city of San Saba, Texas, he brought in, it's only 2,700 people in that town. He brought in the SBDC for nights of meetings for new and existing businesses. So the first night, 22 attended. So the SBDC said, oh, we better come a little more often. So they started coming every 2 weeks. Now, they did not do a standard 6-week curriculum, something like that. People could come once or twice and ask any question that they had. In a couple of years, they created 13 new businesses and 88 new jobs. Again, it was informal with a mix of attendees and a good chance to reflect. Training can also be running a business hands-on. So rather than a formal entrepreneurship class or a standardized business curriculum, Norfolk County again is home to dozens of real businesses that were started by kids in grades 6 through 12, and they are a part of the Student Startup Project. So kids can apply with a simple business plan template, couple of questions, and they may receive $200 in startup funds to kick them off. In 2018, they funded 39 student entrepreneurs, and they've grown since then. Kids who turn in their final report can earn another $100 at the end of the summer. Norfolk County builds on the project by promoting it on their tourism pages, and they hold a special event with display booths featuring these young entrepreneurs. It was definitely less formal than a school entrepreneurship class. The kids got to try a mix of different businesses. And the time to reflect was built into that end of summer report. One more way to help entrepreneurs support each other is to put them into shared spaces. So the same principles apply. Get entrepreneurs together in a space with other businesses, involve that mix of different entrepreneurs with different types and experience levels, And of course, give them a chance to reflect on their experiences. So you want to build connections between your entrepreneurs because they learn best from each other. When they're in close proximity with each other, they have opportunities to run into each other randomly, and they'll talk to each other and answer questions and come up with ways they might work together, or potential customers they might refer to each other. So when you have a group of entrepreneurs in one location, they can also share experts. One person knows a great social media helper, so she can refer her to other tiny business owners. Or an outside expert like the SBDC can more easily reach a group of potential client businesses just by visiting the shared space. Our next one is co-working. And a co-working space can be as simple as a shared office. Think of all the people who run a business from their laptop or just from their phone. All those kitchen table sized entrepreneurs can use a space to sit down and work outside of their house once in a while. But they can't really afford to renovate an entire building just to have a place to work part-time. Well, Jason Duff, a friend and the principal at Small Nation Company, has offices in this building on the third floor in Bellefontaine, Ohio. And it's in the Build co-working building right downtown. Small Nation develops places like this, spaces and dreams for small towns and small town entrepreneurs across the county. They do great work, and I think check them out. You'll like them. And what a fun co-working space with a place to sit outside as well. In Sulphur, Oklahoma, the Artesian Gallery is run by the Chickasaw Nation, and it's intended to be a creative co-working space for Chickasaw artists, where artists have a chance to meet each other and be inspired by each other's work. Now, there are several small studio spaces where artists can work and hold small classes. And they have shared equipment like looms and pottery kilns. And they're mixing in this shared space and learning from each other. Now, last time you heard about Tionesta, Pennsylvania, where they put a dozen little garden sheds on an empty lot and turned it into a pop-up business incubator. It's a shared space, so they can meet each other. There is definitely a different mix of business types, and they each have time to reflect on what they're learning from each other. Now, Tionessa successfully attracted 2 branch businesses, a bakery from another town and a winery from out in the country. And they have incubated half a dozen new local businesses like these local pottery makers who have since grown and had to move into a larger garage in town. Another idea that almost any town could work towards is the Old Geezers Club. In Akron, Iowa, several old fellows brought their woodworking tools to outfit a shared workshop in a basement, and they even teach people how to use them. Now, these guys work with the shop teacher at the high school. They volunteer to do projects around town, like the signs coming in the town, and they're great mentors for people that just want to try something out. The corner spot, come on, fingers. Beth Reynolds shared this example with us. She said, I started my job here in Ashland, Massachusetts 2 years ago, and I created a space that you would love called the Corner Spot. It's a pop-up park with a pop-up business incubator. It actually serves as a brick and mortar store for any business wanting to pop up during the spring, summer, or fall. And they do some winter events here too. It also serves as a community gathering place for food trucks, music, and a beer garden. Young people love a place to gather, to listen to music, eat food, and socialize. She proved that to her community. It's okay to fail, particularly when taking small steps. It's not that big of a deal when you are testing and trying ideas out. And that's our new way. Take small steps. Instead of getting all your ducks in a row before you go into business, today you just have to get one duck and you can get started. Let's look at a few ideas that have been taken via smaller steps. You want to give your entrepreneurs the opportunity to be visible in the community. Now, this is a dance troupe from Perry, Iowa. They're new entrepreneurs. I found them by calling the state arts people and asked them who's affordable to hire to come share their dance skills and their heritage. So they referred us to this group. We hired them, a couple $100, and they were in our town for an event where no one knew who they were. Could this have failed? Sure. What if no one showed up? What if the dancer screwed up? What if our marketing was bad? Well, failure is a great way to look at your idea and adapt as needed. It is not the end of the entire business. If no one showed up, dance anyway. Now it's a time to practice. If a dancer screwed up, so what? It happens. Just keep going. And that's a good lesson for all of us to learn. My friend Sarah and I held a small town conference in Stratford, Iowa, instead of the big town nearby that had official meeting rooms. I mean that my friend and local county economic developer and me decided we needed a rural conference. We did this on our own, and we were just representing our individual consulting side job businesses at that time. We had no money, but lots of good ideas and people we knew who would come and talk. And it was important to us to bring people together that were often ignored at big conferences, rural people. So we tried this location, and it's a winery inside a Century barn. The top floor, the old haymow, is set up for gatherings, events, and weddings. We took a small step by hosting the event there instead of in a traditional location. The winery was an entrepreneurial venture by a young couple, and one of the things they needed was more talk about their location. Win-win for everybody. You know, you could take an even smaller step and try one of your board meetings in a place that's different like this. What kind of cool places are in your neck of the woods? You do not have to wait for permission to do 99% of the things you want to do. Just go do it. Start small and get at it. Let it stay informal. No suits are required. No mandatory note taking. No fixed schedule. Just flex and adapt. The time will come for boards and grants and more people, but don't start there. This group of people all work for nonprofits around the eastern part of the state of Iowa, and they came together in a brewery in one of their towns. This shared space had a large meeting room on the bottom floor of the building. It was where they had deliveries made, they hosted events, and they made it available to the public for meetings. Town didn't have many places to meet other than City Hall. So the new brewery made this space available. Think about what kind of spaces are available in your town. Who can you partner with to make things happen? Remember these three things as you go forward, creating your own self-sustaining entrepreneurship. Get your people together informally. Not a meeting at City Hall, just have a conversation or visit and invite everyone. And let folks have the time to reflect alone and with each other on their experiences. What I know for sure is that community happens when people talk to each other. That's a chance to reflect. Your ideas and thoughts should not stand alone in a vacuum. Talk to people, ask for their thoughts about your idea, ask how they want to be involved, ask for their help. Now your idea has become a small step, and that's a great place to start. It has been my pleasure to share these stories and ideas around self-sustaining entrepreneurship. The quote is part of our idea-friendly creed, and I've given you the link where you can get your own copy of the creed designed for rural people to get at it. How about answering some questions?
Yeah, Deb, thank you again so much for another amazing presentation. I've just been reflecting on the session today and just the 3 webinars we've done over the past 2 weeks. And it just feels like you've taken us on this, journey across the country and up to Canada for a few examples. That's just really inspiring in towns, big and small, but mostly small, that really demonstrates, the real possibilities for our communities. And these are just things that start off as just an idea that have just blossomed. So thank you so much for taking us on this journey together.
You're
Again,
welcome.
feel free. Yeah. So again, feel free to drop in any questions or comments into the chat. And Deb, if you want to stop the share too, if anyone else wants to also just hop on and say hello, don't be shy.
I can figure out how to do that. I will. Give me a
Yeah.
second. Oh, here we are. Stop share.
Yeah, and as you're doing that, it looks like
There we
Mike,
are.
yeah, Mike had a comment kind of early on in your presentation, Deb, about kind of the importance of strong internet connections in these communities to connect with the global economy. And just curious, you could maybe kind of reflect on that point, and also just generally, are a lot of these folks and small entrepreneurs kind of seeing the whole world as their potential audience as opposed to just, those in the community or region. So kind of how are folks kind of thinking about who they're trying to connect with?
Well, if they're smart, they're seeing outside of their own community, hopefully at least regionally, a couple of counties wide. And depending on what they're selling, what their product or service is, that all depends too. There's no, when somebody says, my market is everybody, that's simply not true. And that's one of the things I encourage people to think about is really, who is your market? Are you talking to the people that are buying things from you? Who are they? What are they? And meet people online. I love it. The secret there is, if you get the opportunity, actually go meet them in person, because it gives you some time to reflect. There's that reflection again, but it introduces you to a whole nother group of people that you would not have known if you hadn't. And be careful, watch out for the idiots. They're there too. I did leave my email address here because if people have stories they want to share, send them to me. Send me a picture. I'd sure love to see it. Mike, that was Mike, right? Did we get your question answered?
Yeah, looks
It
great.
would
And
not survive without the internet. That's right. Affordable public fiber. This is so interesting. In our survey of rural challenges back in 2015, 2017, even parts of 19, fiber broadband was a problem. They didn't have enough of it. Now we're seeing it's an asset. More and more communities, rural communities, are getting fiber. So that's something that should be celebrated, first of all. And those stories need to be shared too. It makes me excited to know something's actually working.
it
Yeah,
looks like Jeremy's given a shout out to Mount Air in his region. And actually, Deb, if you could talk a little bit more about that community and that group, it was great to see that photo of them all gathered in the garage. But if, share a little bit more about kind of the story of that group and maybe what was kind of the tipping point to get, a cohort of young families to move back. Obviously, there were lots of reasons to return home, but how's that group staying together and continuing to support each other?
What a great group of young people too. So there was a new store in town, and the economic development director, I was there for a working visit. She said, you got to come meet these guys. They put vinyl on cars and they create big signs and posters. Come on over and meet them. And they were fabulous. And one of the owners said to me, you should really come to our gathering tonight. We'll have some treats and coffee. Can you do that? And I'm like, sure, why not? And I ended up at that garage. That's where I took the picture. Two or three of them, I think it was three of them, knew each other. They all went to high school together, not always in the same year, but most of them, at the same high school. And word got out that these guys had started that vinyl store, and they started sharing, you can do your business here. It's cheaper to live here. Are you in Kansas City? What are you paying for a house there? Well, take that $400,000 and spend 100 on a really nice house here. So they really worked. They used their online connections, and they really worked to start bringing people who came with business ideas to help fill those empty buildings. Some of them work from home. That it just starts by talking to each other. One guy had an idea, opened up a business, and told his friends about it because he wanted somebody his age to come play with, right? And that's how a lot of things start for entrepreneurs. If you're working in a vacuum, you're not going to get very far. That's old school thinking. That's old way thinking, keeping your secrets all to yourself. Don't do that anymore. Share stuff. That's what matters.
Yeah, on a similar note, we've got a question from Haley asking, as a non-entrepreneur or outside entity looking to bring entrepreneurs together, how do you find that balance of kind of predetermined content at an event versus time for that natural networking? So thanks, Haley, for the question.
Okay, so let's talk about predetermined content at events anyway. any event that you plan, actually plan only about 60% of it. Leave the other 40% for the magic to come in, as Quincy Jones said. When you leave room, magic happens. If you're doing an event downtown, figure out what 40% that you can have other booths set up, and then ask your community, who wants to come on, try an idea? That's how I was introduced to human foosball, of all things, right? I would not have thought of that. And as far as building time in to talk to each other, entrepreneurs are pretty good. If they get to come set up their ideas to come set up, they bring friends and family along to see what's going. That's another benefit of letting people do their thing. And that gives them time to walk around and meet people as well. If you're doing a networking thing like they did in Ontario, so instead of having 3 minutes of networking, make it 8 minutes. Give them time to talk to each other. At conferences, I'm an old conference attender. The best times I always have is in the hallway. That's where I meet and talk to people doing really cool things. So be sure to don't hesitate to hand somebody your card or say, hey, what do you do? What brings you here today? And they'll tell you, because they want to know you too.
We've got a question coming in from Brooklyn talking about kind of website development for small businesses and some of the challenges and the financial costs that might include. So Deb, any thoughts about, again, from that kind of public facing PR website or e-commerce perspective,
Sure.
what you've seen?
Oh, first of all, especially in small towns, join your chamber and insist that they provide those one page websites that at least give your contact information. And hopefully, if you already have a website, it'll lead to that. The chamber's job, and I'm going to preach just a little bit, a good chamber supports their businesses and gets news and out into the public, not just locally, but in the region and hopefully statewide. And so many chambers are doing that. I'm just not a fan of things like Wix, because I'm not very good at it. First of all, I get hung up in that. But talk to your freshmen in high school. Talk to your community college. See if they have any programs where people that are learning how to do that and need some folks to try their ideas out that you can throw $100, $200 at to make that happen. Or learn how to do it yourself. It's not really, really hard. Now, if you're setting up a website where you have to buy product from, doesn't work for me too well because I don't know how to do it. That's a Shopify kind of thing. But again, there are experts there. I know Fiverr just laid a bunch of people off, but you can find those kind of experts on Fiverr and you can search by your area. So you may actually find somebody that's in your area. It's worth a shot. Same thing with Kickstarter and GoFundMe. Not GoFundMe, the other one from Kickstarter. Can't think of the name. But go and do a search for your area. And you're going to find entrepreneurs doing some pretty cool things. That's where we found Brad Martin, our engineering guy that made the WTF, by looking on Kickstarter, of all places.
Thanks.
Did that help, Brooklyn?
Yeah, and Nancy, thank you so much for sharing that. If you're willing, I'm happy to connect Nancy and Brooklyn offline here too. Nancy, if you want to share some of the work that you've done with that. And we've got maybe time for this one final question. Oh, they're all coming in now at the buzzer, but maybe we can stick around.
I can stick around if you can.
Why not, right? We're here. So a question from Dana about this idea of regional chambers, and maybe that many small towns don't have the structure of a single chamber.
Brett, hold on just a second, because I want to, Mike Holler mentioned some stuff again about public fiber. Mike, look into McKee County, Kentucky, 500 people. Their local public telephone cooperative brought rural broadband to everybody in the county in 2014. Keith Gabbard is the 50 years he's worked there. You can pick up the phone and call Keith and he'll give you some more ideas and things on how it worked for them. So thanks for letting me interrupt you there. Now back to
Yeah, no, thanks for reflecting on that, Deb. Yeah, question about kind of regional chambers, and maybe the limitations in small towns that might not have um, a, a, a single chamber in place. Have you seen any models of that, Deb?
Um, some, there are Ames, Iowa, Boone County, and Webster City. They've all partnered with a regional chamber kind of thing. What I see is they're looking for the bigger industrial kind of business to bring to the areas, not so much entrepreneurs. They will eventually, but they're starting with the big projects. But what you can do, you can make your own downtown development organization with 3 or 4 business owners, get together and find out who's got a website and who built it for them. You really do have to just start talking to people. If you don't have a chamber, start your own organization that does things. Make it easy, make it fun. Don't build it on committees and that kind of stuff. But you can bring a group of people together, and there are people in your community that know how to make a one page, like Nancy said. Really, all you need is one page still.
We've got a big question from Stacy here, which I think kind of cuts across a lot of the things we've been talking about, Deb, and I know is really at the heart of your work. And that is, in an aging community, how do you attract young people, particularly family members? Rural areas have been characterized as having nothing to do. I think this webinar series certainly showed that's not the case, but are there any sure bets to appease younger generations?
Absolutely. Start with and do this publicly, whether you do it on Facebook or you do it on your own website. Ask people what is there to do here and keep a list of what your assets are. We forget that because we're so used to just, I can walk out my front door and I'm at the beach, right? Or I can live in a mountain town and I can go take my OHV and travel all over. You don't get that in a city, right? You don't get that in lots of places. So if you start putting together that list of assets, now people are going to talk. The next step is take pictures and share it. Now, share that stuff with your kids. Did you know that this coffee shop just opened? They're doing breakfast. When was the last time you had good eggs at a breakfast? And they're going to laugh at you, but they're going to think about coming home to have a cup of coffee and some good eggs at a breakfast. You just really have to talk about what it is they want. And that's the other thing, Stacy. Talk to your younger generations. What do they need to move home? What are the things they want? People aren't moving for jobs anymore. They're moving for quality of life. Now find out what those quality of life things are. Is it the ability to walk where you live instead of having to drive your car half an hour to get to a job? And you could walk to it. Second story housing downtown, so you can be a part of all the events and the activities. A place for your kids to safely play in the park, and you don't have to worry so much. It's all those kind of things. Find out what they want and then figure out how to give it to them.
Well, Deb, on that note, I want to give you maybe one final, maybe just, words of wisdom. You've been sharing a lot over these final 3 days, but any major key takeaways that you want to send us off on our way about a lot of the topics you've been talking, or just keeping the spirit of the work that you do alive in a lot of these communities?
You hear me talking about the idea-friendly method. You know it, Brett. It's really simple. Gather your crowd, bring people together that you know around an idea that you want to try, and do that in a fun way. Take your idea, and you're going to need to know, well, is there a city code against that? Or is there an engineer I need for that? So start building those contacts, and then take small steps. Please don't hesitate to try things. Don't think you need permission. You can blame it on me. Deb said we could do this. I'll happily take the blame.
Deb said we could
Don't
do it.
wait for it to be perfect. Just go get started. Have some fun in the place you live.
Wonderful. Great way to end our time together today, Deb, and throughout the series. I want to thank you for just a really wonderful experience, this journey together. I want to thank our attendees. I saw a handful of you showing up for all three of these sessions, so appreciate you carving time out of your busy schedules to spend with us and get a little bit inspired and take some of these gems into your community. So again, we'll also have a short survey that'll pop up right afterwards. Give us a little bit of feedback on this session or any kind of thoughts you had if you've attended multiple sessions. As soon as we wrap up here, I'm going to start working on getting all the recordings and slides posted on the website. It's on my to-do list. So hopefully later tonight or first thing tomorrow morning, you'll get an email from me with that link. And yeah, please get the word out, share this, and carry on this kind of positive approach that Deb's introduced to us into your communities. And finally, if you're doing great stuff, I'm sure Deb's looking for more examples and more slides and more pictures for future presentations, as are we at NADO. So please let us know what you're up to, or if there's anything really cool or interesting, or just something that works in your community. We're really trying to highlight and share this, and we're all working together.
Share your failures too.
Yeah.
That's okay as well, because there's learning in failure. So yay.
Absolutely.
Sorry for interrupting, Brett.
No, Deb, of course. So thanks again to everybody. And with that, we'll send you all on your way, and hope to see many of you in Salt Lake next month, but if not, at another webinar or future events. So have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank
Thanks
you,
again, Deb.
everyone.